Hello, welcome to another live stream here. I have changed things up a little bit here behind the scenes. So if there's any issue, let me know. But grab your morning coffee, beverage, tea, whatever. And maybe a guitar, and join me here for the guitar and improvisation live stream. Welcome, Jason L. We've been talking this week a bit about minor scales. I released a video, which is part of a series on basics of music theory. So this past week, I released a video on minor scales and 4 different minor scales that can generally help you with the tunes. If you can really get the tonic and the dominant and be able to negotiate those kinds of things, it's very kind of necessary for any kind of minor tune, right? So we have scales, let's say I'm thinking D minor here, that fit certain circumstances. Right? For example, the 5 chord is going to have this tone here that tends to want to resolve. So there are some kind of natural tendencies for these things. So I talked there a little bit about that, but behind the scenes on that, or not the scenes, but sort of on a deeper level there, the relative major has this built-in resolution, let's say in the key of F, or the key of 1 flat. So we have this interval, right, which comes up and wants to resolve. And that's a very, basic part of music, as you may be aware. You have nursery rhymes, really basic tunes that have that 5-1 relationship, right? Now, when you're in minor, in the same key signature, D minor, we don't have, within that collection of tones, we don't have that. If you kind of stack some tones up here between G and C, we get this, right? So it feels a little ambiguous, what's going on here. Is it, what key are we in? Is it A minor? Is it D minor? Impossible to say, really out of context, but when you take that C natural and you push it up a half step, then you can really hear, the difference between that and that, and this starts to feel like a resolution. And that's where we get some of those scales that help us work with that. So the harmonic minor and the melodic minor. Okay, we have a chat here. Yeah, check that here. Okay, happy Sunday. What's my schedule this week? Yeah, I was just thinking about that this morning. I'm thinking, in general, I'm trying to come up with a schedule. In an ideal sense, maybe I'll talk about that since I haven't really come to a decision on it. But in an ideal sense, I'd have like maybe a melody video come out on Saturday morning, like I just did with this Chitlins Con Carne, right? And so I'm thinking that Saturday morning, that'll be my goal anyway. I'm thinking I may pare back the live stream. I've been experimenting with doing more live streams. I definitely want to do at least once per week. So it may be the Sunday morning is working pretty well. So that would be part of the schedule. I'd like to put out maybe one of those basic kind of theory videos on Mondays. And those don't take quite as much production time as the like melody videos. So I'm thinking maybe Monday. And a couple of shorts in the week. But who knows, maybe Wednesday would be a better day for my my theory talk. So I want to make sure everybody has a nice strong foundation in music theory and the fundamentals. I'd like to welcome everybody to like and subscribe. As I said at the beginning, I am doing something a little bit differently with the live streaming today. So let me know if there are any quality issues like that or with that. But I'm actually streaming on the website, fretprints.com, right on the home page there. So you're welcome to check that out as well. I'll do a little noodling around here. Let me know if you have any questions. Love to chat with you. That's what this is all about. So here we go. Do a little plan here. we talked a bit about minor this past week, and then we released this Chitlins con Carne. So hopefully everybody enjoyed that as well. And that's a blues. Matthew, thanks. Appreciate it. Appreciate that. So blues, what do we play on the blues as far as improvisation? George from Panama, welcome. Talking to folks from all over the world. Awesome. Welcome. It's one of our, kind of go-to things. Let's say we're playing on the blues here. You might think on this particular one, use a lot of minor, kind of maybe minor pentatonic. You get that little blues scale in there, bending. And then listen for different moments of the progression, where there are, kind of the possibilities of outlining some of those changes. But for the most part, I'm gonna jam a little on blues, and then take a recording. Let's say Kenny Burrell, and transcribe some of the lines and see what he does on certain different parts of the harmony, and take these things and really practice them in the context of harmony. Think, oh, what does he do on that chord? How does he approach that sound? We had some pretty good numbers on the Chitlins con Carne. We'll talk a little bit about some of the chords on that. So he sticks in. He's got these melody statements, and he's playing these chords in there. It's a C7 sharp 9. Now you take that and you reverse fingers 1 and 3, and then you get the 4 chords. So that's kind of cool. Right, so he's gonna play that in there. And then, I listened to the recording, which I'm not trying to make it sound like the recording. I gotta make more sound like a little something that I, I kind of took it in a different direction, but when I was listening to the recording, listening for the chords, you start hearing some higher tones pop out on the second time they state the melody, right? So with this chord, really, really cool. So we've got kind of like a minor C minor 7 there, and then the major 3rd, right? So that's really still the C7 sharp 9, but we actually have kind of reordered. So if I move these over to this position and then move this up 2 octaves, right, we end up with this, right? So we have, right, and then kind of hear subtly, maybe, but a little bit of that E in there, or that, excuse me, that C, E down here, E, B flat, E, D sharp, let's say D sharp, G, and C. So that's what we've got there. And then later on plays this. But work through the step-by-step section of that video, because I do show all this stuff. So F9. All right, everybody. So, Israel, welcome. Thank you very much. All right, yeah, so talking blues here. Chitlins con Carne. Really great tune. Kenny Burrell. I did another tune on of Kenny Burrell's, I think, called Midnight Blue. So check that out on the channel as well. Remind folks to like and subscribe if you haven't already. Curious about X.com or the former Twitter.com. If folks are on there, I've been posting on there, and I'm not sure if it's worth it or not. So is anybody on there? You check out guitar content on there. So I see, you know, some folks on there, but I'm just kind of wondering, you know, I was streaming on that platform a bit for a while, and just kind of wondering if it's worthwhile to do that. But today I am streaming on Facebook and Instagram. Yeah, I'm on Instagram. Perfect. Streaming on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, of course. Also streaming on my website, footprints.com. Okay. Got a couple comments here. Alex says, nice playing. Appreciate it. Kenny Burrell is reported safe in LA. Awesome. Wow, thanks for that. It's really kind of heartbreaking what's going on over there, and it's great to hear that Kenny Burrell is safe. I didn't even know he lived there, but that would make sense. That's good. Oh boy, yeah. Okay, Israel. Okay, Israel says, yeah, the platform does not seem suited to music content. The video streamer is unreliable, and I personally feel music is usually longer content. Okay, yeah, I hear you on that. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. And that kind of aligns, with what I've been doing there. I've been sharing all the YouTube posts, for really many years. And I have like 60 followers now, so on that platform. So yeah, maybe that's pretty consistent with what you're saying, Israel. Thanks for that. Okay, everybody. Let's see, we've got minor. We're kind of focused on two little parts of a discussion that I'm welcoming anything you want to talk about as it relates to music and stuff, and maybe social platforms and stuff too, as we just talked about. But focusing a little bit today on minor in general, minor scales, how to approach minor, the dynamic nature of music and scales, as well as a little bit on the blues. So good opportunity here. The way I'm kind of approaching it is a good opportunity to go over some of the content that I've been releasing as uploads. So I released a video on minor scales, how they work, and the Chitlins con Carne. So let me know if you have any follow-up questions on those. Happy Sunday morning to everybody. Play around a little bit here. If you have any questions, I'll be keeping my eye on the chat. And if you don't see the question I'm responding to, is because I'm streaming vertical and horizontal and on a few different platforms. So exciting stuff, but that would be the reason for that. You can even chat with me directly on the website, I believe, although it's untested. Okay. Rod Denny, welcome. Thank you for joining. Okay. Okay, so Israel says, content has been helpful. Great to hear. Finds pentatonic shapes, stuck in pentatonic shapes. Comfortable with them, but my playing tends to sound scaly. Okay, I'll talk a little bit about that. Yeah, break out of the box. Yeah, pentatonics are great, and I plan to do a lot of content on pentatonics. And kind of an interesting thing about those is there's really a lot more options in a couple of ways than maybe are typically maybe used a lot. So, when you have a scale like this, let's say on A minor, and you're playing an A minor or even A major, then you can use that same scale and use it to move it around and do different things that relate to a chord. Like for example, let's say you're in A minor and you just want to create the tiniest bit of tension. You say play E minor pentatonic, and then you can kind of jump around between those two. Maybe do 4 notes of one and 4 notes of A minor pentatonic. And bounce back and forth, and that gives you a little more variety. So that's one area to work at. And then there's also the I think if I recall the names correctly, the minor 6 pentatonic, which is kind of another note collection altogether, and there are a lot of circumstances for that. And then you can get into pentatonics that you can alter, a bit. So, so there I've got like the sound of flat 9 and sharp 5, So that's another thing where you can, expand on the pentatonics, and so create a little more variety in the sound and all that. And then completely apart from the whole pentatonic thing is to work at 7-note scales, get comfortable with the 7-note scales. The more notes that you have, the more you really, kind of forces you into, okay, what tones are in the chord that I'm playing, so you have A minor, for example. Right, so if you have, let's see, flat 3, flat 7, which of those 7 tones are with these 3 triads. So we do have a question about triads, so I'll talk a little bit about that too. So those are some areas you might try out. The other thing is to mix up your intervals. So if you're playing a lot with pentatonics, then you're going to be playing a lot of minor thirds and whole steps, right? So just see if you can get different intervals other than those, right? Okay, so we have a question about some triads. We'll talk a little bit about that. So we've got a request for Smells Like Teen Spirit. So I'm not necessarily doing requests in a sense. Well, I'm talking here mainly about, or tune requests, but talking mainly here about improvisation. I will say I love the solo on that tune, which which if I believe I recall correctly, I think follows the melody a bit, right? I could be wrong, but I have to go back and listen to it. But that is another really strong technique in general that applies to jazz folks or any improviser, which is to follow melody, have that kind of inform your sound. So Israel writes in, so instead of switching shapes, keep the same shape, but move it one step forward for tension. Oh, you're good. You're all good, Israel. Yeah, so what I'm kind of saying there is, so if you're on A minor, let's say you're on A minor, if you play E minor pentatonic over that, actually all the notes will be the same except for one when you compare that A minor pentatonic to the E minor pentatonic. So play up a fifth from where you are, and you can do that with triads. You can do that with anything. You'll hear Wes Montgomery do that quite a bit, and other greats. So experiment with going up a fifth or down a fourth, and experiment with the pentatonic, and then depending on the context of the chord, you might have to change it up a little bit. But yeah. So Rod Denny asks about triads. So we have 4 basic different types of triads, and then we have some other triads which you may consider adding to that list. Let's just talk about C for a second. So we have C major triad and C minor triad. Now we also have C augmented triad, and we also have C diminished triad. So that's all taken from a common root note. So I would experiment with those. Triads, aside from those, I would consider checking out the sus4 type triads and the sus2. That will be useful as well. Gives sort of a different kind of sound. Alex joins in. Flat 6 dominant chord leaning to the 5 in a minor blues. Which scales do you use? Great question. So when I was playing earlier on a minor and a blues on A minor, I was actually not doing that. I was doing more like the Thrill Is Gone, B.B. King kind of as an example. So I was playing major 7 as the flat 6 chord, and then going into the 5 chord. But yeah, probably more typically it's the dominant 7, right, into that. So as far as, and you can think of that as a predominant, but as far as scales, your probably go-to scale there would be the Lydian dominant scale on that. So in that example, if you have in the key of A minor, try working with the F Lydian dominant. F Lydian dominant is like a mixolydian with a raised 4th or 11. So a lot like Lydian. Another little tip there is try to take the minor and play around with a minor scale, right? And see how kind of elastic those tones can be. think I mentioned in the house minor scales work video, I mentioned that I said something like these tones are going to be stable most of the time, at least for our talk on the in the context of that video, which is mainly about the 1 and the 5. But let's say you take a scale here, and you think, okay, well, what if I want let's compare it to, let's say we have, okay, natural minor, okay, and then I talked about with the natural 6, so that's flat 3, flat 7. And then what if you take, so in this example for that predominant F, when you take flat the 5. So it's a nice moment to play flat 5, that bluesy sound, right? And then you can play the flat 6 on that, because that would be the root of that. So you try to kind of compare to some of those others. So it's kind of like you take the tonic chord and relate it to that, and you get the natural 9, the low Korean sound. That would be a way to relate it to your tonic tone, anyway. So I hope you follow that. But that would be, quick and direct answer would be the F Lydian dominant. Would be a good choice. So just the disclaimer on all of these scales and things. It's the theory kind of explains the phenomenon of the sound, right? So it's not like you have to plug these things into different areas, but they do. Excuse me. Me and my mic there for a little bit. They do tend to work. Lydian. Lydian on any dominant that doesn't resolve to 1. Lydian on any dominant. I'm not sure. Not sure the question. So it would be Lydian dominant is like a Mixolydian scale with a raised 4. Not sure if I'm understanding the question correctly. Oftentimes that is the case. That works really very well, whether you're looking at take the A train, right? Lydian dominant oftentimes works really well on 2 chords, flat 7 chords, and flat 6 chords. So, the way I know that has not so much to do with any studying, in a sense, maybe somewhat, but more it has to do with transcribing chord progressions from recordings and listening to what improvisers do on those areas. So I would highly recommend transcribing chord progressions to tunes, any tunes, jazz tunes, and listening in for what the chordal player, how they voice things there, and then how they, so it's, I would kind of warn against like do this on this and do this on that. I mean, that can kind of work, but do some transcribing. But this will give you a little express route to some things. But having a little, behind the scenes study, background is very helpful. All right, everybody. Please remember to like and subscribe. Check out the merch area. I've got some merchandise, including mugs. I've had some pretty positive feedback on the mugs. So if you'd like to support the channel and have a bit of a mug here, I have changed the look on it a little bit. It's a little more focused on the podcast and everything. So check out the podcast as well. I'm going to be hanging here for another maybe 20 minutes, something like that, 15, 20 minutes. I'm going to check around here. We've got live streaming on a few different places. Got Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, of course. YouTube being my main place to be. I'll do a little more playing here. Mute my microphone. So there towards the end, I kind of deliberately did this very scale that I talked about a little bit on that predominant. So on that, it's just a different flavor, right? With the dominant 7 as a predominant. So that time I play like more like an F7 to that, and you hear I just just play through the scale. So yeah, we've got another comment. Please welcome everybody's comments, and as long as we're all constructive and supporting each other and kind of on the topic in general of improvisation, I do welcome your questions here. Good starting point to get into. Let's see. Israel writes, I apologize, it's too broad. But what do you think would be a good starting point to get into jazz playing? I know a couple of standards, but still feel like I'm playing covers and not my own thing. I'd recommend starting with short form type things, like blues, or a something like blue bossa would be a good tune to do. Learn to state the melody very closely to the way a song recording would be, and then try to mess around with it and maybe listen to a few instrumental versions of that same thing, and just kind of get a sense for altering it, changing it, maybe playing it, if you have a lead sheet, playing it just like it's written, and then contrasting that with with different approaches that you've listened to, and then working through that. I think over time you'll find your own voice and certain preferences and your individual taste from like what you like to hear will come out and what you play as you work through things over time. But yeah, short forms, work on the blues, maybe rhythm changes, and some popular standards like All the Things You Are. Well, All the Things You Are might be a little bit tough at first. So Autumn Leaves. Autumn Leaves is a great one to work through it. And it has circle of fifths kind of thing, diatonic, visits, it is in minor, so you have some opportunity to work at minor, but you have a 2-5-1 in major as well. It pretty much touches on all the chords, all the chords of the key of 1 sharp, so that would be a good one. Steve, favorite jazz standard. So one of my favorite jazz standards is Stella by Starlight. Its melody is strong, classic, timeless, and the chord progression is really amazing to solo over. There's kind of an endless stream of ideas that can kind of come from that. So that's one of my favorites. What are your favorites? Anybody out there have a favorite tune? I do believe I have a video on Stella by Starlight. If you want to check that out. Well, maybe I'll noodle a little bit on that one. Let me know, folks. More questions. Little noodling there on Stella by Starlight. Round Midnight, yes, absolutely. Beautiful tune. I have a couple on that. Would like to kind of on my long list of projects here. I would like to do the full Wes Montgomery version of that. I did do a little bit on the intro, his intro on that, which I did a short on, maybe a long form video as well. Check that out on my channel. Do a search. Out of Nowhere, Watch What Happens. Yeah, awesome tunes. I love that outro, and I'm trying to remember. Watch What Happens. Kind of cool whole thing. I haven't played Out of Nowhere in a real long time. I got to get back to that, and maybe that's a good option for the channel. Put that on the list as well. Israel says, thank you for all the help and your videos. Watching you all the way from South Mexico. Awesome. Very cool. I had folks from Panama, Mexico. Thank you for joining. Really appreciate you watching the channel, and you are most welcome. Let's see. Yeah, so great. Be hanging out here for another few minutes. Let me know if you have any questions, comments. Actively working, make the videos better, and make it a real nice channel in the long run. I think I've come a long way here, both in audio production and video. I'm not doing anything really flashy video wise, but trying to make it as visually appealing as I can. This is my studio where I do lessons and stuff here, both online and in person. So feel free to sign up for a lesson. I believe there's some spots for that, so if you're interested, check the description below. Also, I'm starting out this membership website, which will have the Fretprints app. Is going to have exclusive live streams. It's going to have some Sound Slice practice materials. I don't know if you've heard of Sound Slice, but it's really cool technology. And let's see what else. Gonna have the kind of webinar type things, which you could join live or just watch. So you could play something on there. And also working on some user submission type things, which would be cool as well. Okay, so reaching out to all those folks out there involved in improvisation, guitar playing. That's our area over here. Well, thank you everybody for joining here today. I think I'm gonna call it a day here for today. I really appreciate you all joining me, and appreciate it. You're welcome, Alex. Have a great practice session today if you can, and throughout the week. I'm keeping an eye on all the comments on the videos, so let me know what you're doing, working with, what your struggles might be. Here to help, and I'll see you all in the next one.